Is Palm Beach County a buyer's market? January of 2026 is telling a surprising story. We're seeing an increase in sales, and for the first time in years, places like Jupiter, 50% of the listings are seeing price cuts. My name is Prindle, and for over 15 years, I've been helping people make data-driven real estate decisions here in South Florida. Whether you're looking in Jupiter Farms, Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm Beach, or Wellington, the real estate market you're walking into now is much different than it was 6 months ago. Today we're going to break down median home pricing in Palm Beach County, how many homes are selling, and what inventory levels look like. And we're going to wrap it up by going through some bonus topics, like how homeowners insurance has changed in the state of Florida after January 1st and what you need to know about it, and whether I think you should buy or sell a home right now in Palm Beach County, or wait. Let's dig in. All right, folks, Happy New Year's. Let's dig right into the data. Median sold price, $510,000, so a little bit of a bump. As always, as I've said about median pricing, don't put a whole lot of stock in it. The only thing that I do want everybody to take is, look, here we are, as we always kind of point out. Been level for a pretty long time here. If anything, we're up slightly, but no cratering in price, as you may occasionally read in the media that's happening in Florida, not happening in Palm Beach County. So a stat that really does matter a whole lot, number of properties sold, 1,700. Big bump up from November. If you're new here, I've done this over and over. We peak March and April, we drift down in pricing down to January. Happens every year. So we're expecting, while this little bit of a bump was a little bit of a welcome surprise, I will be interested to see where the January number comes in. If this number keeps chugging up and we turn the corner early, I think that will signal that the market's heating up. So definitely something I want to keep an eye on. But the bounce, in summary, the bounce is a little bit of a surprise, but I don't think it moves the needle too far one way or the other. Sold to list price ratio, this is getting interesting. So sold to list price ratio takes the original listing price from when it went on the MLS to whatever percentage that property sold, or all of these properties sold in the end. So their original listing price versus their final sales price. It's going to show you what kind of negotiating power buyers have. Of course, buyers want this number to be lower, sellers want this number to be higher. I think as we're seeing this trend down a little bit, at the end of the video, I'm going to go through the number of price reductions happening. Not going to be surprised if we see this number continue to pull down here. Again, is it going to be an enormous pull down? No, I still think here we are, 5-6% off original asking price. That's about where the market is, folks. That's realistic. And so just know that whether you're a buyer or a seller coming into it. And again, this isn't property specific. This is just overall. And I've blended single family homes, condos, and townhomes. You're going to get better deals in certain areas on different product types. This just kind of blends it all together. But good thing for everybody to know, I feel. Median days on market, of course. If you're a buyer, you're going to want to see this number higher. It means the sellers aren't seeing many offers and you probably have more wiggle room to make an offer. Of course, sellers don't want to leave their property on the market for long. This 51 days represents the amount of days from when a property went active to when it went pending sale, not pending sale to closed. So if you're a seller, you're going to want to add 30 to 45 days on the back end of this number to get a generalized idea of how long it's going to take for you to actually get money in your bank account. Buyers, this is a good number for you to know. If you see something on the market, it's been on the market for 60 days, and you say to me, oh, well, we're going to throw in a real low offer. They must be desperate. It's been on the market for 60 days. Statistics tell you 51 days right now is average, so don't get too excited. If you see something around 60 days, it's just kind of where the market is right now. Median price per square foot, just like median sold price. Don't put a whole lot of weight in it. Here we are, level. I did an article or a video that I'm gonna I hope you guys have seen it. If you haven't, let me know and I'll link it to you. It was my predictions for 2026, and one of them has to do with this median price per square foot number in a roundabout way. I do think that this year we're going to see more inherited homes and more homes that have been owned for 20, 30, 40 years that haven't had a lot of improvements. I think we're going to see a lot of that housing stock hit the market just because of demographics, right? If somebody inherits a house, they aren't going to do all of the upgrades. Very rarely do I deal with an inheritance where the new owner then wants to put in $100,000 into the house. They most likely just want to sell as is and be done with it. And selling as is going to drag that median price number down. So just demographically speaking, I think that as we have the older sellers selling homes that probably haven't been in updated condition, we're probably going to see this number stay flat, if not trend down. I think that's going to kind of be a theme for the year. Total dollar volume. Don't put a whole lot of stock in it, folks. I say this again and again here. The reason I don't want you to is because we have such a divergent type of property here, and we're so seasonal. You can see these peaks run up every single year. And so I just think it gives people a false view, especially because we're going to have more volume during January, February, March, April into May, when second homeowners are around, more disposable income. They're going to spend more money on properties. Volume's going to come down off of that as the second home buyer and seasonal buyer kind of disappear for the middle of summer. So there's the chart, there's the number. Don't really pay attention to it. And on to something to pay a whole lot of attention to. In fact, if you give me one statistic that I'm allowed to look at, this is the one I want to see. I want to see month's supply of inventory. This is supply and demand, folks. Look, nationally, 6 months of supply is considered a balanced market, favoring neither buyers nor sellers. We peaked up here. We peaked, and we've been coming down. And in all honesty, I think we're going to continue to come down. That's my prediction for the year. Is as we go on, I think that this supply of inventory number is going to pull down. As I've said, my crystal ball is often broken, but that's the prediction that I have for you here. Locally, we've been used to seeing something more around 4 months of supply. So this feels like a pretty heavy buyer's market if you look at this chart. Of course, a lot of that was, artificial timelines because of COVID. And, just market wasn't acting rationally. But, here we are again. I think the bottom line is going to feel a little bit more like a buyer's market. I've said this before, I'm still probably preferring to work with a buyer a bit more than a seller right now, because I feel like with a buyer I can get more leverage. I can do a bit of a better job. With a seller, it's harder to pinpoint where the property is going to transact. So I still feel like we are in a bit of a buyer's market, even though 6 months is supposed to be a neutral market. Just kind of my take on it, but I do think that edge has been narrowing, and I think we'll continue to see that edge narrow. I think as we go on through the year, I think sellers might gain a little bit more leverage. In the beginning of the video, I promised you guys a couple of hot takes. Here we go. Here's the first one. Last week, there was 1,447 new listings in Palm Beach County that came to market. There were 1,435 price reductions. So think about that. Just as many new listings as came to market last week, listings had price reductions. That's rare. You don't normally see that imbalance. So that's something that I want to keep an eye on. In my opinion, what it's signaling is sellers that are coming to market have fully recognized that we're not in crazy COVID times. You're not going to get the bidding war that your neighbor got. You're probably not going to sell for the same price that your neighbor sold for. There's an adjustment, and I think those adjustments are washing their way through on pricing. So not altogether surprising, but I definitely think it's something worth keeping an eye on, and I'll keep you guys up to date on how that stat kind of plays out. All right, insurance. Let's touch on insurance. I think this is going to be a big theme for the year. The insurance market down here is changing and adjusting quickly. There's legislation that's been proposed, some more that's in the works. but the one I want to talk to you about today are Citizens policies. Citizens, known as the insurer of last resort in the state of Florida, which means if your property did not qualify for hurricane insurance any other way, you could get an insurance policy through Citizens, provided a couple of parameters that were pretty loose in all honesty. But anyways, as of January 1st, if your home is worth $400,000 or more and you have a Citizens wind policy, you're also required to carry flood now, even if you're not in a high-risk zone. This has happened over the last couple of years. It started at 600, went to 500, now we're down to 400. Next year, it's going to be every property. So look, here's where I think it's important. If you're a homeowner or considering selling, this is only going to get worse for you, in my opinion. The state doesn't want Citizens policies. They're trying to get the policies into the private market and off the state's books, which means your premiums are just going to keep going up and up. I don't really see another way around that. I think it's unbelievably important. If you're a buyer, you need to know about the age of the roof, and you need to know what kind of what kind of storm protection the windows and doors have on a property, because that's going to dictate your insurance rate. If you've got an older roof, let's just say it's a shingle roof over 15 years, this is going to be a problem. If you have old jalousie windows, this is going to be a problem. So what I tell all of my clients is when we're in our inspection period, we're going to get quotes for homeowners insurance. Just another reason to not go for something where they allow you like a ridiculous 3 or 4 days of due diligence or inspections. That's not a good contract to be in. 10 days is pretty standard here. I often like to try and push for 14 days because I really think the insurance component needs to be hashed out. And in order to get your insurance quote, you have to have back your property inspection reports so that you can forward your wind mitigation and 4-point inspection to an insurance company to get your quotes back. And that's going to take 2 or 3 days. So that's just kind of how the timing works out. But I bring this up just to say I think insurance is going to be a big part of the housing market down here in Florida this year, as it has been the last few years. But just wanted to give you that update on Citizens. That's what I got, guys. Thanks for watching this month. See you next month.